morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and today another detailed forecast update coming your way. We have a lot to be talking about today. We've got some rainfall over Central Australia, some cold weather headed for New South Wales and Victoria, some heavy rainfall for Western Australia, and some heavy to locally intense rainfall expected for far north Queensland. So all of that plus more coming up in today's weather forecast. If you are brand new to the channel, please consider subscribing and also leave a like on the video while you're at it. Your support is greatly appreciated. So we will just start things off with the now on the forecast, which is the rainfall moving through central parts of Australia. It's nothing heavy. In fact, it is mostly over. There were some moderate falls across Western Australia. In fact, up to 40 millimetres fell at Cairns yesterday, just outside of Tom Price and Marble Bar. We're also expecting falls up towards 15 or 20 millimetres today over areas in South Australia through Cooperpedy and then down towards Ceduna and the more interior parts such as Roxby Downs and areas surrounding that sort of area. The rainfall should be easing off by later tonight and into early tomorrow morning. There still will be a couple of showers moving into Queensland and New South Wales early Monday morning and into Monday afternoon. Again, not really expecting anything heavy in terms of rainfall for New South Wales. There could be a little bit of heavy rainfall outside of Charleville and Roma in south or southern Queensland, south central Queensland, and a few showers expected early Tuesday morning for areas around the Gold Coast and into Brisbane and in the northeastern parts of New South Wales. Again, nothing crazy expected there, only a couple of millimetres, and you can see on the rainfall accumulation map here, the extent of the rainfall that we're looking at here really isn't that much, only a couple of millimetres, like I said, for where the rainfall is right now outside of Minturpie and Cooperpedy in a very remote corner of South Australia where hardly anyone is. But for grey nomads in this area, especially around Ayers Rock, travelling in that sort of area around Yallara or Minturpie as well, just be warned, you might want to head north or further towards the east just to dodge the rainfall here, which could make for unpleasant camping conditions. But I don't think this sort of rainfall here will cut off any sort of roads, especially considering it's not over already flooded areas. So I do reckon you will be in the all clear there. For south central Queensland and northeastern New South Wales, again, not really much rainfall expected. A couple of spots could get up to 25 millimetres or so, but really nothing heavy expected there. And then, like I said, for Gold Coast and Brisbane, nothing heavy expected there either. That is kind of the rainfall that I want to be talking about for the southern states bar Western Australia. We'll just touch on the cold weather over here because, again, big population centre, the cold weather is a big factor of the forecast. It was a cool morning across some areas of New South Wales, did get towards zero for some locations. Tonight it will get close to zero again for some locations here, but you can see slightly more mild the weather will be tonight. But for those wondering why it is rather cold across parts of New South Wales, well, it's being powered by a strong high pressure system which is expected to move into the Tasman Sea over the course of today, and that's what's keeping conditions dry, cool and calm across New South Wales and Victoria. Tasmania is sort of exempt from it. They're actually getting a little bit of an onshore flow which is resulting in a little bit of rainfall for the west coast, and that could be resulting in accumulations up to 25 millimetres a day for a couple of days in a row now, which is expected to continue into the early parts of next week as another high pressure ridge builds itself over the top of New South Wales sometime Wednesday and Thursday. Again, that's a pretty simplified forecast for New South Wales, Victoria and Tasmania for the next couple of days. If I've left anything unanswered, please do let me know in the comment section down below. I'd be more than happy to respond to what I can. What I am now very interested in is the rainfall up in far north Queensland. This is certainly something that I'm going to be watching very closely over the coming couple of days. It is still about a week away, this rainfall threat, but we are looking at some early season, potentially heavy to intense rainfall, so I do recommend paying attention if you do live in far north Queensland and this sort of weather does interest you. We do have some showers expected to ease off throughout the course of today. Some of them could be heavy. Like I said, we've had some decent accumulations over the past week, up to 200 millimetres for South Mission Beach. Again, completely expected rainfall. It isn't abnormal for this time of the year. It is still heavy rainfall, but there is more rainfall on the cards. The light showers will continue through Monday and Tuesday, expected to ease off temporarily on Wednesday and contract only to the wettest of the rainforests on the Cassowary and the Daintree coast. They will pipe up again on Thursday evening and continue through Friday and Saturday. As you can see, a big pool of low pressure enters into the Coral Sea, and this starts to drive a very unstable air mass, which is going to be promoting a lot of convection, some thunderstorm activity, and most importantly some heavy rainfall activity in a big onshore flow-like pattern that's expected to start late next week. And the rainfall will pipe up, like I said, over the far north Queensland area late Friday, but will remain light to moderate throughout Friday and Saturday. It's going to be Sunday afternoon when we start to see these heavy showers and potentially rain bands moving ashore for locations between Cooktown and Mackay. And you can see isolated storms expected outside of Yalborough, outside of Mackay. Some decent rainfall is also possible up in far north Queensland. The worst of the rainfall rainfall will take hold sometime on Monday by the looks of things. Again, this is still a week away in the forecast, so there are a lot of variables that can change in this forecast, especially considering it is still a tropical forecast, so it remains very uncertain. But as you can see between the other forecast models, it is very much congruent. The other forecast models are saying a very similar thing on the forecast, which means that I am very confident in saying that this rainfall event will happen, at least to some degree of what the forecast is suggesting. Anyways, back to the forecast here. You can see 3-hourly accumulations approaching 15 to 20 millimeters at times here, and in fact getting heavier throughout the course of Monday. Some 3-hourly accumulations, especially offshore, are expected to be approaching 30 to 50 millimeters every 3 hours. So some pretty heavy rainfall is expected to end off next weekend and start off next working week. It doesn't look like it's going to be lasting too long. You can see the rainfall already starting to ease off on Tuesday. We'll see if it continues through Wednesday, but again, there's light to moderate rainfall still persisting for areas on the Whitsundays down towards Rockhampton as well, and it could be a little bit of wet weather for those locations too. Now, peak rainfall accumulations is what you're very much interested in, and we will start off with 5-day rainfall accumulations just to get an idea of what we're working with. You can see rainfall, which will mostly fall throughout the course of today and then a little bit more later on this coming week. You can see rainfall accumulations up to 30 millimeters in the Daintree rainforest outside of Mossman, and then up to 40 millimeters in the Cassowary coast north of Innisfail around Babinda and Belenden Kerr. So some decent rainfall is expected over the next 5 days. Again, nothing heavy, and like I said, the majority of it will fall throughout the course of today. Little rainfall expected for Townsville, a couple of drops from Mackay and a few drops of Bowen as well, but again, very little rainfall expected elsewhere. But it's 10-day rainfall accumulations. Look at these, they become very much green and blue, and even a spot of purple up here, which on the forecast suggests up to 200 millimeters of rainfall, which is very heavy indeed, and certainly something we're going to have to watch quite closely, because remember the last night when we were expecting only 30 millimeters to come through and 100 millimeters fell at South Mission Beach. If we get 3 or 4x the rainfall that's predicted, we could be in some big trouble in terms of flooding up in far north Queensland, so we will have to watch this very closely. About 200 millimeters in the Cassowary Coast rainforest and about 150 millimeters in the Daintree is when I like to start taking the forecast very seriously and start saying, well, this is coming and this is certainly something that is worth watching. And you can see here we are looking at exactly those numbers on this forecast. Again, it's not record-breaking rainfall. It does happen basically every single month of the year, every now and then in this part of far north Queensland, but it certainly is worth watching the forecast very closely. For locations around Ingham rather and Townsville Cardwell rather, you're looking at accumulations up to 150 millimeters. Tully as well looking at about 150 millimeters. Innisfail a slightly drier 100 millimeters, but you can see the mountains outside of Innisfail here, outside of Babinda, up to 200 millimeters of rainfall expected. I forget the name of this peak here, but it is the highest in the ranges up outside of Cairns on the far north Queensland area. It's just to the south of Belenden Kerr outside of Fishery Falls, and I do forget the name of it all the time. I'll see if I can remember it for next video. Cairns is also expecting a decent helping of rainfall too. You can see up to 60 millimeters expected there. Some good rainfall out in Atherton, 50 millimeters of the stuff, and then out at Mount Carbine, the rainfall will also persist out there, and you can see accumulations up to 30 or 40 millimeters expected. So it looks like some very good rainfall is expected to penetrate quite far inland too, across the northern tablelands and into the plateau outside of the Cassowary coast. So this is a very good and very healthy forecast indeed for rain lovers up in far north Queensland. Certainly one that looks pretty decent, and certainly one that doesn't look too risky at this time, except for some areas outside of this little spot of 200 millimeter accumulations. Again, 100 millimeters in far north Queensland, like I said yesterday, it's not enough to flood a drain pipe up here, but this heavy rainfall is certainly starting to raise my eyebrows in terms of, well, 200 millimeters, it can be off on the forecast, and we could see 400 millimeters fall overnight. I'm not saying that that is going to be happening, but again, 200 millimeters overnight will cause some problems in terms of flooding up in far north Queensland. So I'm just giving you the heads up at this time, even though it is about a week away, but next Sunday, Monday and Tuesday, very much worthwhile keeping in the back of your head for a potential flooding and heavy rainfall day. Certainly we'll be giving more coverage on this weather event as the days draw closer. You can also see some decent rainfall accumulations as we go down the coast. Townsville expecting up to 25 millimeters of the stuff. In fact, they're expecting up to 40 millimeters of the stuff. Outside of Mackay and Mount Yalborough, we're expecting up to 120 millimeters of rainfall. Mackay itself up to 70 millimeters, and even places down towards Ogmore and Rockhampton, you're looking at potentially 20 millimetres of rainfall as well, and Gladstone and Agnes Water not missing out on the rainfall either, a light but certainly needed down there, 15 millimetres expected. So this looks like some pretty good rainfall for the central and the far north Queensland coastline. It is certainly something that I'm very excited to be tracking, and certainly something that hasn't got me worried, but certainly something that has got me excited for some of the residents up in far north Queensland that do want the rainfall to start up there. Now it's time that we move over to Western Australia. We do have more rainfall on the forecast for the southwest corner of Western Australia too. Some of it will be coming through this week, and we've got some more rainfall expected on the later parts of next week as well, from two separate cold fronts. Now, Western Australia, I mean, it's going to start off as a beautiful day today. I'm literally watching the sunrise as we speak right now from beautiful Rottnest Island, and it looks spectacular. I'll send a photo through with this video. It looks absolutely gorgeous, and we're in for another cool, calm day over Perth and much of the southwest as well, under the influence of this strong high pressure system, which is keeping things very dry, very steady, and very calm across a lot of the southwest. The rainfall is not expected to pipe up either for some areas of the southwest until about later tonight into early tomorrow morning. There will be a few showers expected to come through late Monday night for the Perth metro area. You can see it here on this forecast here. A few drops of rainfall are possible late Monday afternoon into early Monday evening. We are expecting a bit of heavier rainfall rather on the southwest capes around Busselton and Bunbury. You can see it streaming in here Monday night, and this is going to sweep up very slowly on Monday and into Tuesday, and that will cause some light to moderate showers and some light to moderate accumulations around the Perth metro area before the main front hits the Perth metro area early Wednesday morning, which could deliver up to 20 millimetres according to the Bureau of Meteorology. Me personally, from this cold front, I don't see up to 20 millimetres or 25 millimetres falling in Perth. I do expect accumulation to be a much lighter, around 10 to 15 millimetres. Again, this cold front doesn't look weak, but it certainly doesn't look strong at all, and I actually reckon that the northern suburbs might be in for a little bit of better rainfall here. Now, it is still about 4 days out in the forecast. My forecast here is going to be very inaccurate, but I can guarantee you on Tuesday morning I'll know exactly what this weather system is going to be doing, so check back in on Tuesday if you want the up-to-date and accurate forecast on this weather system. But I do reckon that the northern and the eastern suburbs will be picking up the majority of the rainfall from this weather event. That's just how it looks like it's going to happen on this forecast model here. You can also see that there is expected to be some pretty stationary, moderate to heavy falls across the southwest cape, so I would not be surprised if between Monday night and Wednesday morning between 50 and 75 millimetres fell across some areas of the southwest capes, especially around Margaret River, Yelling up and up towards Busselton and inland around Vass, down towards Manjimup and Bridgetown even. I would not be surprised if some heavier falls fell there, and you can see it in rainfall accumulation over the next 5 days. Some decent falls expected across a lot of the southwest, up to 75 millimetres of the stuff, and this certainly is, from showers and thunderstorms, a front that is going to be worth watching very much. It is certainly going to be bringing some isolated heavy falls to some locations. Perth, however, I think we're going to be just too far north to miss to get the good rainfall here. You can see the Perth metro area expecting up to 20 millimetres of rainfall, which even I think is a little bit bullish at this time. Eastern suburbs slightly more at around 20 to 25 millimetres, potentially up towards 30, and the northern suburbs again up towards 25 millimetres, so some slightly wetter accumulations expected there. The rainfall not penetrating into the wheat belt either, so for wheat belt forecasters, it really doesn't look too good for your location. You can see rainfall does kind of stagnate as you get over the Darling Range. It doesn't even make it out towards Boddington, which isn't truly in the wheat belt, so again looks like a pretty disappointing forecast for wheat belt residents, with only a couple of millimetres and very hit and miss rainfall expected out there. However, if you change the forecast to the 10-day accumulations, you can see rainfall is a lot more evenly distributed across the wheat belt. You can see accumulations up towards 20 to 25 millimetres being quite widespread, even as far out as Killarney and the northeastern parts of the wheat belt, and then into the true eastern parts of the wheat belt around Southern Cross, and even into the Goldfields. Up to 15 to 20 millimetres of rainfall is expected. Now, what is driving this? Well, we do have a little bit of a rainmaker expected to come through later this week and into early next week, after a high-pressure ridge builds itself up once again. You can see another calm, cool weekend expected across the southwest on Saturday and Sunday before another cold front builds itself up late on Sunday, crossing the coast across the southwest on Sunday night into early Monday morning. Looks like the showers will continue for the southwest throughout all of Monday as this rainfall penetrates deep inland by Monday night. You can see it getting out towards Mount Magnet and Paynes Find, Murchison and the southern reaches of the Gascoyne. Some good rainfall as well expected out towards Menzies and Kalgoorlie, up towards 5 to 10 millimetres of the stuff expected Monday night into early Tuesday morning. and then as this cold front pulls away, you can see the rainfall drying out from the southwest by around Tuesday afternoon and into Tuesday evening. You can see it's going to be from another high pressure ridge return to cool, calm, dry conditions from about Wednesday the 14th of August onwards, and it's great how you can forecast so far out into the future just by looking at high pressure and low pressure system patterns. I really do love how that is a thing that you can do, and I can make a forecast that is reasonably accurate up to 14 days away for parts of the southwest, especially considering it's a relatively predictable part of Australia to forecast just based off these systems. And I can tell you, after this front comes through, we're looking at a couple of days to potentially a week of relatively dry weather behind it, which is just fantastic to see. In terms of rainfall accumulation from the front that's expected to pass through after, you're looking at another 20 millimetres across parts of the southwest around the Perth metro area, potentially 30 millimetres for locations into the hills. Into the wheat belt, you're expecting a solid 15 to 20 millimetres of rainfall for a lot of the wheat belt, especially in the northern parts. It does look like the northern parts of the wheat belt around Morawa and Three Springs is going to be the wettest locations once again, with up to 30 millimetres expected from just this cold front alone, and even out into the extent of the wheat belt outside of the wheat belt, even north of Beacon and Southern Cross into parts of the Gascoyne and the Goldfields, you're looking at 20 to 25 millimetres out there. So a great forecast for cattle stations out there. This really does look like it's going to be some good widespread rainfall accumulations that are also going to remain pretty healthy as well throughout a lot of the wheat belt, which is fantastic to see, especially because it's been about a week now since they have had some decent rainfall in parts of the wheat belt, and this drought map here is showing that we are already seeing minor to mild drought-like conditions in parts of the wheat belt, which is unfortunate considering we have had such a good run with rainfall. But I believe that the last front that really did fizz out, the rainfall just wasn't there to add to the totals that were expected, and as such we're already starting to enter into some drought-like conditions with soil moisture values starting to go below their average, which is unfortunate. So hopefully we see a return to above average soil moisture values later on in the forecast period after this cold front moves through, which looks like is going to happen, which is fantastic news for agricultural interests out in this part of Western Australia. And I'm really starting to drag this video out, so thank you so much for watching at this point. Your support is greatly appreciated. Just going to finish things off by looking at satellite imagery and a huge massive cloud covering about 30 to 40% of the nation at this time, with some rainfall and some heavy rainfall at that buried underneath it. Western Australia being the sunny state right now, Queensland as well being relatively sunny, and the Northern Territory, which we haven't talked about for a couple of months now, also remaining high and dry at this time. Thank you so much for watching the video. Like I have said, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and also leave a like on the video as well. Your support is greatly appreciated, and I could not run this show without the channel sponsors. Their names are on screen right now, and their support is, like I've said, greatly appreciated. That is all from me today, and I'll catch you all in the next store. Goodbye.